Hello, today I'm reviewing some new foundations at various price points and coverage levels and giving you my thoughts. I'll show you how they apply, what they look like on my skin, and how they wear after testing them multiple days, and what skin types I think would benefit the most from each foundation. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. I test a lot of concealers and foundations and complexion type products here on my channel because I'm in my upper 40s, and as we age and our skin continues to change, it just gets harder and harder to find the right products. So I test things out so you don't have to. So let's check out these new foundation releases and see how they worked for me and if any of them might work for you. My foundation and concealer reviews are not first impressions. I test foundations for several days using no primer and various types of primers and different methods to give you a thorough review and show you clips of what I think gives you a good picture of my experience with each foundation. Because of my skin type, I need to set my foundation with powder, but I show you what each looks like before it's set so you can see that finish. I have a combination oily skin that's pretty normal and can even be a little bit dry or dehydrated around the perimeter depending on the circumstances that are happening, but I can get some oil and shine breakthrough in the center of my face. I will have all the products I'm sharing as well as the primers and powders I normally test with and what I'm wearing listed and linked in my description box, and as many products as possible linked through the YouTube shopping icons, but they don't always have everything, so if something's missing, check my description box, it's there. Makeup Forever HD Skin Hydra Glow is a new addition to the HD Skin line. The first version of this is one of my favorite everyday, natural, any occasion, flattering foundations. It lives downstairs in my everyday vanity. So I was really anxious to test this out and see how it compares finish-wise, coverage-wise, and everything. So this is $47 for 1 ounce. There are 32 shades. There are also 6 shades available in a mini 0.4 ounce size for $22. I bought it in the same shade. I have the original N2N22, which is for light to medium skin with neutral undertones. Now this is supposed to be a feather light 86% skincare-based foundation with a naturally luminous finish that melts into your skin and gives medium buildable coverage. It's supposed to hydrate, smooth, visibly plump, and brighten, and improve texture and radiance in as little as 4 weeks. They say it's especially good for dry, mature, and sensitive skin. There are some soothing ingredients. There's no alcohol. I do want to caution you if you have any sensitivities to citrus or lemon extract, that is in here pretty high up on the ingredient list. I always try to tell you about fragrance too, even though it has to be listed, even if it's a natural fragrance. Now, it is listed about 2/3 of the way down. I don't notice a scent to this though. I have sensitive skin and I'm not bothered by this foundation. This has a runny texture that melts into my skin no matter if I'm using a brush or a sponge. And I would say this gives anywhere from light to medium coverage. On this particular day, I pumped a full pump out onto the back of my hand, and that is what gave me medium coverage on one half of my face. I pumped out a little bit more and used that to layer where I felt like I needed it. But medium is about as full as I can get it. It gives me more coverage than a tinted moisturizer, but less coverage than the original HD Skin foundation. I'd say this gives a natural skin-like flattering finish that smooths my skin, but it doesn't blur or airbrush it completely. Now, I will say the first time I tested this out, when I saw how wet looking it was after application, I was a little bit nervous. It also feels a little bit tacky to the touch before you set it down, but my setting powder seems to almost adhere to it, kind of fuse with it, and everything feels smooth and just is fully set. That tackiness is gone. It feels lightweight and good on my skin, very hydrating, and my skin looks beautiful. Now the check-ins I'm showing you are from one of the days I tested without primer, and a few hours in, it looks really nice still. It's probably around the 3.5 hour mark where things still look decent, but I'm starting to get some shine that's drawing attention to some contours of the face I don't want, like nasolabial folds. That's what can happen with foundations and face products that are too luminous, too dewy looking as we age, and that's what's happening here. So at 5 hours, I'm starting to see some more texture, a little bit of fading, especially around the nose area. I was blowing my nose a little bit very lightly on this day, and I could start to feel it on my face a little bit around 6 hours in, and just saw a continuation of everything that was going on, shine, fading, and all that. I don't think the camera is really picking that up because of the lighting. And at 8 hours, this is just way too shiny for me, which is kind of what I thought it would be because of how the natural matte original version gives me a natural finish. I figured the glow version would be too glowy, although it starts out really, really pretty. So if you have dry skin or normal skin and like a light to medium coverage foundation that's flattering and has some nice skincare benefits and that gives hydration throughout the day, you might really enjoy this, but this is just a little bit too glowy for my particular skin type. I have 6 shades to swatch for you of the newly reformulated bareMinerals BarePro 24-hour wear skin perfecting matte liquid foundation. That's a long name. I had the previous version of this and it was one of my favorite bulletproof long wearing foundations. It applied quickly and easily and was just beautiful, flattering, yet natural looking, and stayed a soft matte but not powdery matte and lasted through sweat, heat, and humidity. So this has some big shoes to fill. This retails for $44 for 1 ounce, and there are 40 shades, which makes you think it's going to be easy to find a shade match because there are so many shades, but I had kind of a hard time, which is why I have 6 shades sitting here. I have light medium skin tone with neutral leaning warm undertones. I always try to match my face to the rest of my body when I'm getting a shade match for foundations, and I do have neutral leaning warm undertones, not paying attention to what's going on right here because I'm already testing a foundation for my next foundation roundup and it's not quite a match. So I started out with light 22 warm, light 27 neutral, and light 28 neutral. These bottles and swatches are in number order, and all of them except for that light 22 warm are cool or neutral toned. So the 3 I started with that I picked out, they sent me, and I was just surprised at how warm and yellow they were, especially since 2 of them were neutral. So they graciously sent me 3 shades in between: light 25 cool, light 26 cool, and light 27 cool. I tried light 25 cool, which is the one that looks almost grayish compared to all the other shades, and I think it looked okay, but there was a little bit of a gray undertone to it on my skin. So what I landed on was light 26 cool for light skin with a subtle peach hue, but based on my sample size of 6, it seems like a lot of these shades are very, very warm toned, which is pretty important for you to know. So this is supposed to give you 24-hour undetectable full coverage with a matte finish that feels comfortable. There is broad spectrum mineral SPF 20 that's zinc oxide based in here. If you're a subscriber of mine, you know how I feel about sunscreen and foundations. Please do not use this for your sunscreen protection. Just pretend like it's not even in there, basically. And they say it's ideal for all skin types, even sensitive skin. It claims to improve your skin tone and texture within as little as 7 days due to upcycled pomegranate peel extract that helps brighten and even skin tone instantly and over time. And it also has a clean silicone complex that mimics the performance of regular silicones. So alcohol is about 2/3 of the way down your ingredient list for those of you that are concerned about that, and there is no added fragrance. There's also a flexible, breathable film former in here to help with skin adhesion and long wear, and to help it wear through sweat, heat, and humidity. So the texture of this is thick, and you'll see that the shade that I'm showing you here is one of the initial ones that doesn't really match me, but I do blend it out and make it work, and you'll see my match, the, what is it, light 26 cool later too. This blends out quickly and easily. It's not one of those long wearing foundations that you have to work with so quickly before it sets. It's pretty user friendly, and I would say that this gives medium full to full coverage depending on what you use to apply it and how much you build it. I would say this gives a nice natural matte finish. It's not a powdery matte, but it's not as natural of a finish as the original version. I feel like I look a little bit more done, a little bit more made up when I'm wearing this, even though it's not cakey. I'm not sure why that is. I don't find it to be as smoothing as the original version either. My pores look improved, but just not as smooth. After my makeup is completed and everything's set, it looks really pretty. It continues to look pretty throughout the day, and it does feel good. It doesn't feel heavy, but there's something that's just not here for me with this version that was there for me with the original version. I almost can't even put my finger on it. I guess it's just because I do feel a little bit more done and not quite as smooth, even though technically everything looks really good. I think my benchmark is just set pretty high for this long wear bulletproof foundation category. I mean, it's tough when Estee Lauder Double Wear is the gold standard, but you know, the first version impressed me a lot, and I do get some wearing away in certain areas on really long days with this one that I didn't get with that original version. This is not a bad foundation by any means, but it's another reformulation that just doesn't quite live up to the original. Now, the first time I ever tried Wet n Wild BareFocus Niacinamide Skin Tint was in a video. It was, I think, trying new drugstore makeup products. So you'll see some of those clips here today. There were quite a few variables going on there, so I have tested it out some more. It retails for $8.99 for 1.08 ounce, and there are 27 shades. I grabbed light medium, which is a cool shade, because all light and light medium shades on their website currently are listed as cool. The shade range is kind of odd. It's hard to get a shade match, so this is what I ended up with. It's not quite right, but I made it work. This is supposed to be a sheer to medium buildable skin tint that gives you a satin glow. It has 5% niacinamide, hyaluronic acid, vitamin E, and peony extract. It is fragrance free. There is alcohol about 2/3 of the way down. I feel like everything I'm pointing out is about 2/3 of the way down these ingredients list. They also have squalane in here that they don't point out, but that's a great hydrating ingredient, and it's pretty high on the list. So I wanted to point that out. This has a slightly runny texture to it. I don't notice any scent, and it applies easily and quickly using any method. This is buildable from sheer to medium coverage at the most. And I feel like this gives my skin a plump, very dewy, hydrated, natural skin finish. My pores look really nice and my skin looks healthy. Now, after I set it, it gives me more of a natural finish and it feels very lightweight and hydrating. Now, I do get some shine with this throughout the day, but it's not greasy or oily looking. I might have to blot every 2.5, 3 hours. That's not really unusual, especially in the humid climate that I live in with my skin type. And I feel like throughout the day, as the day goes on, there is some gradual, very graceful fading, but at the end of a moderately long day, I still look put together. There's still makeup on my face, which I wasn't really expecting from this type of hydrating skincare serum skin tint type product with my skin type and my environment that has so much humidity. So it's probably not a skin tint that I'll reach for in the middle of the summer here in New Orleans when it's extremely hot and humid, but on moderate weather days that are moderately long, this is really nice and pretty skin-like, natural looking and hydrating, and it was enjoyable to wear. I think for those of you that have combination to dry skin and are looking for this type of coverage and finish, you'll probably really like this. This is the new Kosas BB Burst Tinted Gel Cream that everybody on social media has been talking about and saying it's so great for dry skin, mature skin. It's just been really hyped up. So of course I had to check it out. It retails for $38 for 1 ounce. There are 24 shades. I grabbed it in light, medium, neutral 21, which is light medium with neutral undertones. This is supposed to be a fresh take on tinted moisturizer to give you a burst of active skincare, thus the name, that improves your skin over time while giving you light, buildable, your skin but better coverage. It's got triple hydration technology that helps support your skin barrier. It's got collagen supporting copper peptides, which I love, and zinc oxide to reduce redness and soothe your skin. There are some really nice ingredients in here. The texture is pretty thick and there's no added fragrance, but I do notice a light, pleasant scent, probably just due to whatever ingredients they formulate this with. Now, I think the clips I'm showing you, I applied 1/2 with my fingers and just massaged it in like a tinted moisturizer, and the other half with a dry sponge to absorb less product than a damp sponge since it gives light coverage. Either way will work. I find using a dry sponge or a brush faster, so it just depends on your preference. This sinks into my skin like a thick moisturizer, and most days applied really nicely, but there were a few days where it pilled and there didn't seem to be a rhyme or a reason. I tried it with various sunscreens and it would just pill sometimes, but most days it was pretty good. I would say this definitely gives sheer to light skin evening coverage. My skin looks very dewy, plump, and hydrated, and it does have a natural skin-like finish. My pores look slightly improved, but not completely smooth. Now, in addition to it looking pretty wet or dewy, it feels pretty tacky to the touch. The first time I applied it, I kept letting it sit for a while, thinking that tackiness would go away, and it just didn't. And sometimes foundations can do that until you set them down with something, and then that tackiness goes away. So after I set my makeup, after my makeup's completed, everything looks light and natural, not too matte. Setting powder took care of the wet look, but it still doesn't feel untacky even after I set it. It didn't quite smooth everything out. So I sort of felt like I had to be a little bit careful throughout the day and not touch my face too much because I just felt like it might slide around. It does feel very hydrating. A couple of hours in, I start to get some shine, but my makeup still looks decent. I find as the days progress, no matter if I'm wearing primer or no primer, it doesn't really matter. I get pretty shiny and I have to blot often, and it just starts to fade and break down as the days go on. Towards the end of the day, it seems like everybody on social media has been saying this is the next big light coverage skin tint for all of us over 40, but I feel like I'm proof that not everybody over 40 has the same skin type. This may not work for you, but if you have dry or mature skin, even normal skin, and you're looking for something sheer to light that's very hydrating, something to just kind of even out your skin tone, I think you could really enjoy this. I really do wish it had worked for me because on paper it's a great skin tint, but this just isn't the ideal foundation for my skin type, but it might be for you. This is the new Ilia Skin Rewind Blurring Foundation and Concealer Complexion Stick. I keep having to read these names because they're so long. So this retails for $48 for 0.35 ounces. Remember, with cream and stick products, they're much more condensed, so you typically get less than with a liquid foundation. There are 42 shades. I grabbed 12 Sycamore, which is light with neutral undertones. So this is supposed to be a long wear skincare powered stick foundation with a buildable natural matte formula that blurs instantly and visibly smooths and firms over time. There are some nice ingredients in here to help strengthen the skin barrier, restore luminosity, soften the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. There's no alcohol and no added fragrance. This smooths on my skin beautifully and blends out easily using any method, but I will say I prefer to use a sponge, damp or dry, depending on the coverage level I want, because sometimes when I used a brush, I could see some streaks left behind that were really hard to smooth out after, and the sponge just gives me a smooth finish right from the start. I would say this is buildable from light to medium coverage tops. Now, I do want to preface this that stick foundations and I don't usually get along that well. There are probably less than a handful that I really like. A lot of them seem to accentuate dryness or texture I didn't even know I had, or they just break up and get patchy and don't wear well throughout the the day. So on my skin, this gave a really beautiful natural finish. It wasn't a soft matte that the claims say it gives. It feels very lightweight and is extremely smoothing and flattering on any texture, on my pores. Now I find I have to set this pretty quickly because if I start to do other things, it does get pretty shiny quickly on me and it starts to break up around my nose. I'm not sure what that's about. So I apply my concealer and set it pretty quickly. I don't mess around. Now something weird happens. Every time I set this, it doesn't matter what powder I'm using. It's like the powder gets soaked up into the foundation somehow and kind of removes some of the coverage. Like if I start out with medium coverage, I feel like it goes to almost light medium territory or somewhere in between after I set it with powder. I typically have more redness on the left side of my face, which is the right side of your screen. And I don't know if you could see that more of that redness kind of came out after I set it on this day, but that happens every time I've worn this. I don't know why. After my makeup is done, it looks really nice and pretty. And so I went into this with pretty high hopes, but sadly, I get a lot of shine with this during the day. It's not soft matte for me. I just continue to have to blot, and that long wear claim does not stand true for me. It does rub off easily on my skin. Like if I need to even lightly blow my nose or just wipe something ever so gently, it's gone. This just is another stick foundation that did not work for me, which kind of isn't surprising at this point. So despite the long wear soft matte claims, that's just not what I got from this. And we're not even in the hot months here right now. So I would almost say if you have normal to dry skin and you enjoy stick foundations, I wouldn't necessarily be put off by that soft matte finish claim. It may work for you, whereas it didn't for me. In case you missed the video where I applied and tested out the Physicians Formula Mineral Wear Diamond Perfector BB Cream, I wanted to give you a quick synopsis and insert those clips here in an official foundation roundup. So it retails for $16.99 for 1 ounce. There are 6 shades to span across several skin tones. With it being a BB cream, I grabbed light medium, which is actually pretty light on my skin. This is supposed to be a 10-in-1 skin perfector, but I never actually found 10 things. It doesn't list 10 as of this date on their site. It's supposed to moisturize and transform your skin in an instant, which you'll see here in a second. It's supposed to soften, conceal, even out, and diffuse imperfections. It has their luminous diamond dust, mineral water, and vitamin E. It's supposed to be great for all skin types, even sensitive skin. It's talc-free and fragrance-free. So in that video, I started blending it out and looked down, and it was just a patchy, luminous disaster. It looked awful and was kind of just sitting on top of my skin. I thought it might be because that was the side I had primer on. So I tried it on the other side, which had no primer on it, and it did the exact same thing. It just would not blend out without getting patchy and weird like that. So I abandoned ship and ended up applying this. I tested it out after that just on my own to see if that's what I could get from it. And unfortunately, I cannot get that product to blend out on my skin to do a foundation wear test for you. I don't know what on earth happens with it, no matter what I use underneath it, but it does what you saw there every time I apply it. So I wanted to let you know that if you by chance missed that video. So it would be here in a foundation roundup for you in case you were looking for some kind of feedback on that BB cream. Foundation and concealer roundups are some of my favorite videos to do. I love testing them out and helping you in some way, and I hope that you found this video helpful and enjoyable. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up and check out more of my foundation reviews here. Subscribe if you're not already. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.